Welcome back to Inside Politics. Our guest today, Dr. Thomas Schwartz of Vanderbilt University, a history and political science professor there. Dr. Schwartz, we've seen a lot in the news these days about ISIS being defeated, apparently being the first permanent casualty of all the different sides that are fighting in Syria. But the Syrian civil war is not over, and it still remains in flux, and that leaves that whole region over there in flux. So is there going to be a winner in that long-running war?
Well, it does seem like the Syrian regime will have prevailed. They have this.
And Assad will stay in government?
Assad will more than likely be in power for the foreseeable future, despite the fact that recently, again, the United Nations report indicated he used chemical weapons against his own people. Since we, of course, thought that we had gotten rid of his chemical arsenal, he's continued to use it. So despite all of this, I think he remains in a strong position there, because the United States commitment there is really to the defeat of ISIS, not to any sort of regime change. And so that there is no real weight in behalf of the rebels in Syria that could actually defeat Assad.
And ISIS may be out there, but that doesn't mean they're anywhere close to being eliminated around the world.
I think ISIS, the formation of ISIS as a caliphate that controlled an actual territorial state in the Middle East seems to be ending. What will undoubtedly happen, or what seems to be happening, is the ideology, the radical rejection of Western ideas and the promotion of a sort of Islamic fundamentalism. That's going to continue or to move into other places. There is a possibility ISIS, or at least radical terrorists of that sort, would go toward areas that are badly governed, like Libya or Somalia or Sudan, areas where they can get an inroad, but they've been basically forced out of the area that they were in.
Let's move back to Washington. Is the Republican Party in Washington particularly an all-out civil war? It appeared to be almost broke out that way this week.
It's clear that at least a faction of the Republican Party is deeply unhappy, but it's been unhappy since Trump got the nomination. The party is now becoming Trump's party. He is dominating it, and as long as he is in a powerful position in terms of both public opinion and support, he's going to be able to dominate that party.
And Steve Bannon is his enforcer, at least against the incumbents in Washington right now, to say, if you don't get in line, I'm going to primary you?
He certainly can use Bannon and the threat of a primary to try to keep in line those Republicans who still want to accomplish some aspects of the agenda despite Trump, namely the tax cuts and maybe, in effect, some change on Obamacare.
And while the Trump-Bannon group don't seem publicly to work together, they seem to be working, at least in terms of where things go. And it seems to me their side of the Civil War, if that's how you want to look at it, is winning, because the people we're talking about who've been unhappy in Washington this week, Senator Corker, Senator Flake, some others, they're all leaving.
Yes.
And only now are they speaking out.
Right.
Why don't the other Republicans come over the wall? None of them are.
Well, because I think many of them genuinely feel
they'll get shot.
Well, that they want to accomplish some aspects of the agenda. We are in an odd time, because although certainly our politics are very excitable, on the other hand, many things are going quite well. The economy, for example, today there was an announcement, for example, that 3% growth had been hit in the last quarter. The Republicans think they can benefit by that. They want to accomplish something so that they can go to their constituents in 2018 and at least make the case for re-election, and that's where I think many of them are.
They have majorities in both houses. They have the White House, yet on health care they failed, and it's not clear they're going to do very well on tax reform either, or tax cuts. We'll probably find that out in the next couple of weeks, right? I mean, I don't want to get it done by Thanksgiving, but I think these next couple of weeks are really going to be the critical, because they got to put the bill together and they got to vote it up or vote it down.
And there are many provisions within the bill, besides the 401k, the state and local taxes, all the rest that could unravel the coalition and prevent them from succeeding. And that would, I think, trigger the idea that the 2018 election will be a very profound comment on Congress and could lead to a Democratic wave in the Senate and House.
So far, Mitch McConnell, the leader in the Senate for the Republicans, and Paul Ryan, the Speaker of the House for the Republicans there, they seem to be the ones taking the brunt of this, not the President, not Bannon. So they're going to keep doing, so therefore the President, maybe it's in his best interest, along with Bannon, to maybe keep things stirred up like that while they're forward on the surface. The more things seem to go wrong, wrong up there, the more it seems to benefit them and hurt these two leaders in Congress.
In the short term, I think that could be to the president's benefit, that the blame goes there. I think where it would rebound would be if the 2018 election did bring in a Democratic House and Senate. President Trump would never escape the investigations that all the committees would have on him, and it would be a very log-jammed and sort of certainly frustrating next 2 years for him if he survives it.
Now, history never repeats itself, but it does rhyme a lot. Do you see any connections between what's been going on in the National Republican Party in Washington to what went on back in the 1850s with the Whigs or the Know-Nothings back in those parties kind of broke up and were destroyed over slavery? We don't have an issue for this, but it looks like personalities alone may be enough to rip these asunder in these modern times.
I would actually go a little bit more recently. I actually see a parallel here, and it's an unusual one, I confess, to the Democrats in the 1970s. In 1976, they came in, they had the House and Senate, Jimmy Carter was president, but there was a substantial faction of the party that really disliked him, disliked his style, and really protested in some ways, ultimately would not primary him, but challenge him in Ted Kennedy. And the Democratic Party, of course, would be ultimately weakened and very badly destroyed by that. And I think a Republican challenger, for example, to Trump, were the elections to go badly, a primary challenge, division within the party. The party is so large now, in many ways, it contains irreconcilable factions, and that could ultimately end up reshaping the electoral landscape.
Professor Schwartz, thank you for coming on the show. I'm sure we'll have you back as we continue to see if the grand old party remains. Keep using that moniker of being a grand and old party. Thank you so much for joining us on Inside Politics. Hope you can be back here for a future show. If you can't get enough politics in the meantime, go to the News Channel 5 website. You'll find my Capitol View commentary there. There's a new commentary posted every Friday afternoon, although not this week. I've been under the weather, but we'll get back to it next week. Have a great weekend. We'll see you back here next time. Goodbye.